to Paradigms at paradigms.life, the radio show and podcast that brings you inspiring people with visions of a viable future for life on Earth that includes humans. Hi, I'm Baruch, host of Paradigms. This is our New Year's Eve show. As we enter 2024, we're welcoming back a wonderful singer, songwriter, poet, essayist, and she's going to talk to us about her new record, play a song for us, and we'll hear some songs from the new album. So let's meet her right now on this episode of Paradigms. Carrie Newcomer, welcome back to Paradigms.
Thank you. So great to be on the program again.
I was so excited when I saw that you had a new record and that we could do this. You were on the show in 2016, and boy, has a lot happened since then.
Oh my gosh, yeah. The world has changed in many, many ways.
And you have this amazing new record out that I just listened to this morning. It's perfect for this moment, A Great Wild Mercy.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, the song A Great Wild Mercy, the title track, is really about holding kind of the tension, in creative tension, holding the troubles we are seeing in the world, the struggles, the challenges that we all are encountering personally and in the wider community, with a sense of hope, with news of the world and then news of the heart, which, is kind of a reminder that there still is something fine and true, a thread of that great wild mercy that is still here and still present. So, that's kind of what that title track is about. And it's a thread that runs through the whole album.
And that line, actually, I was going to ask you specifically about that line, the news of the heart and the news of the world, because our hearts are so impacted by what's happening in the world. And we have our personal lives that we reckon with and experience. And then we have all of this stuff that's happening outside of us that we don't feel that we have necessarily any control over.
Yeah.
But that has a profound effect, and what we do with that.
And I think that's something so many, I know I'm wrestling with. It sounds like that's something that really is a wrestle for you. I think a lot of us are wrestling with this. And part of it is, yes, I mean, you don't want to candy coat. There is real challenges in our world right now. And to not diminish that in any way. And at the same time, know that the way we get our information right now, we are living in an information society that we're getting 24/7. And often the hardest, the most challenging news that will say, be afraid, be afraid, be afraid, then be enraged, then be more afraid. And then we have news of the heart. And news of the heart is, if you ask a person, do you personally know anyone who's generous of spirit, who tries in their own way to make the world a little kinder, better place, that has reached across some kind of line for family, for love, for the food bank, for some reason? Almost everyone will say to you, I know a lot of people like that. I'm like that. I live my life that way too. And so I think it's balancing sometimes this overwhelm of news that says, be afraid, and the news that says there is still a great wild mercy, a thread that is running through our lives that we experience and that we live into each day. Because I think that's a really important part of this idea of news of the world and news of the heart. It's not to candy coat what's really hard and challenging, but it is to say that we do have tremendous power in how we choose to live our daily lives. In fact, that's the truest power we have, how we choose to live our daily lives, bringing that back home to human size. Because as you said before, there are huge issues in the world, and heartbreaking issues in the world that often, I don't know, that idea that what can one person do? And yet, I really do believe that it is for each one of us. That I remember talking to John Paul Lederach, who is a professor and expert in conflict resolution. And what he said was, peace, love, truth, and justice in its most final and completed form. Okay, its final form will most likely not happen in my lifetime. We're going to get a ways down the road. We're going to work as hard as we can, but it probably won't happen in its final and most complete form in my lifetime. And so that my work for that better, kinder, truer world must be an orientation as much as a destination. Mm-hmm. And that really moved me. That idea that my daily life, the orientation of my daily life, that's how I keep rowing for that good horizon, you know?
What we do, each of us in our day, is we add stones to the foundation for those who come after us to build upon. And I think that's always been true. That's part of humanity's story.
It's always been true. My favorite definition for hope, my friend Parker Palmer. I work with Parker. We have a podcast together. He's one of my dearest friends, but also he's a great mentor. And his definition for hope, I hold with me often. He says that hope is holding in creative tension everything that is with everything that could and should be, and each day taking some action to narrow the distance between the two. So I'm going to say that again. Everything that is with everything that could and should be, and then what we do each day to narrow the distance. I do love that because it's not wishful thinking. It's not just positive thinking, because taking daily action is not always easy. I mean, we run up against all kinds of things every day in our daily lives. So that idea of getting up in the morning and trying in our own way to be the change we hope to see in the world. And then the next day, getting up the next day and doing it again. And then getting up the day after that and doing it again. And getting up the day after that and being really disappointed or heartbroken and doing it again. I love his definitions because it's active. It's a human size, which I think right now, again, with the avalanche of information we get, bringing things back. There's a song on the new album called Start With a Stone, and it's really all about bringing things back to human size, where we can take that daily action, where we can see, where do we put our feet? Where do we ground ourselves quite literally in our daily lives?
Hope is not passive.
It is not. It is active, and it's daily, and it's personal, and sometimes it's the smallest action that shifts something.
Would you play that for us?
The Start With a Stone or Great Wild Mercy?
Either one.
I'll do a Great Wild Mercy, maybe. It starts out with a poem that I wrote in one of my collections. I have collections of poetry. A lot of my songs start with poetry. And there's a poem called The Blue Umbrella. And it had been a really long, hot summer. And I was downtown walking around, and I saw the storm kind of started. And there was a woman with an umbrella. And it was that kind of summer storm that was such a relief. And she put down her umbrella, and she just looked up into the sky and just let that water come down. And it was just like, that was a prayer. It was a summer storm that broke the heat. She had a blue umbrella as she stepped into the street. I saw her look up from beneath the brim, thought better of it and closed it up again. The rain slipped down like unchecked tears, the way that miracles arrive. Then disappear. I nodded as I watched her smile and walk away, having just seen the finest prayer ever been prayed. There's a big white sky filled with stars. It feels so close but feels so far. I'm tired of all the rage, tired of all the worry. I'm ready for a great wild mercy. A great wild mercy. May we all forgive was tattooed on his arm like a sign from God or a hit and run. He handed me my coffee he just poured. May we all find the mercy we've been longing for. There's a big white sky filled with stars. It feels so close but feels so far. I'm tired of all the rage, tired of all the worry. I'm ready for a great wild mercy. A great wild mercy. And some of us are just born restless, dazzled by the heart and softness of things, sensing a never-present goodness still circling on wings. There is news of the world and news of the heart, stories we tell, parcel and part. It'll all unfold, the teller and the told, the stories that will heal us and the ones we let go. There's a big white sky filled with stars. It feels so close but feels so far. I'm tired of all the rage, tired of all the worry, looking for some peace, trying not to hurry, leaning into something absolutely sturdy. I'm ready for a great wild mercy. A great wild mercy. A great wild mercy.
It's gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
Your music, every song has a point that brings a tear to my eye.
Oh,
You know, your use of language is an imagery, and the way that you are able to bring images together that seem disparate and find the common ground that create this thread for us. And then the music is like a coming home to a warm bowl of soup while there's a snowstorm outside, like one of your songs. You know,
oh,
it's really
thank you.
it's really something.
And I think right now too, I'm biased. I think the arts are important, but this idea of a story or a song, a work of art, journalism, podcasting, I mean, all of this, I think it's more important now than it has ever been, because this is my take on it, is that at the center of a good story, at the center of a song, is a place where we still recognize one another. We live in divisive times, and a lot of time that's even being encouraged. But at the center of a good song, we recognize one another. It's like, oh, that's something very human. That's about grief. That's about loss. That's about an anthem that makes my heart lift, because we need our hearts lifted right now. I mean, at the center of a good song, it's like 3.5 minutes of empathy, and we see one another again. And in that moment, there's an opportunity. So at the center of a good song, a good story, a good journalistic piece, a painting, a dance, I think the arts have always been important. But I have this sense that we need to meet where we recognize one another at this moment in time, maybe more than ever before.
Well, it's how we heal each other. It's how we heal ourselves with each other. I agree with you 100%. The arts are a place where we meet, and I feel like it's always about healing, even when it's harsh, even when it's not pretty.
Yeah.
It's showing us something. It's a mirror. It's telling all of our story. That's the thing about really wonderful, great art, is it tells all our story, because all our story is the same. The divisions are manufactured, for lots of reasons.
For lots of reasons. The whole idea of, stories. I have a song on the new album called A Book of Questions. I've never written a song because I had an answer. I've always written songs because I have questions. And the good ones keep returning. What does it mean to live a life of meaning, of thoughtfulness? When we bring it all home to human size, what's my action today? Those kinds of questions continue and come back. I wrote this song because, I actually had been inspired by this really wonderful, Jean Lohman is a wonderful poet, but she didn't start writing poetry until she turned 65, which I really love. And then she wrote several collections of poetry into her 90s, bless her heart. And she had a poem called Questions Before Dark. And it was just kind of amusing on how important questions are. And sometimes they're simple questions that we get to know each other sometimes with simple questions. Do you like honey in your tea? Things that, what's your favorite ice cream? People will, you find out things in soft and sweet ways, but also questions that questions that go to the heart. Okay, I'm an introvert in an extrovert's job, but I love people. I do. And so a lot of times, like if I'm at a gathering that I don't know a lot of people, instead of asking the usual, well, what do you do? Which you'll get a certain way down the road with. But I like to ask people, what gave you life this year? Mm-hmm. What really gave you life? Often people will look at you like you have 7 heads. But then they'll launch into something wonderful, something that I feel like I got to know them a little deeper than if I just would have asked the regular questions, you chalk off the list, Yeah. So I ended up writing this song called A Book of Questions that every line in it could be one of those kinds of questions that either was a little sweeter or softer, or that asks something a little deeper, like, what gave you life this year? So that was really fun in terms of seeing one another. I've had fun with this particular song. I have a Substack page where I do a lot of posting of poetry and new songs, but there's always questions for the community. And I posted all the lyrics to this particular one. Said, pick one out and just talk about it. Yeah, I like honey in my tea.
I'm talking with Carrie Newcomer. We've been talking about her new record, A Great Wild Mercy, and she sang the title track for us. And now we're going to hear another song that we've just been talking about, A Book of Questions. Carrie Newcomer from her new album, A Great Wild Mercy. You're listening to Paradigms at paradigms.life.
Do you put honey in your tea? Do you let it cool gradually? Do you feel the strange wash of time and memory? Have you made peace with your worst day? Ever kiss in a busy cafe? Are there things that you feel but you still don't know how to say? A brief as the light on wheels given away. Questions that come before dark at the end of the day. Did you lose a lover or friend? Was there a story that just had to end? Did you finally learn what kept coming around again? Did you work in a bookstore? Are there things you don't do anymore? Ever watch an oncoming train or a gathering storm? Brief as the light on wheels of hay, all that you've kept or given away. Questions that come before dark at the end of the day. Did you say yes? Did you say no? Was it true? Or just wasn't so? Did you land hard or gracefully? Was it not what you planned? Right where you needed to be? Have you ever made a grilled cheese? Ever prayed down on your knees? Ever love a place that you still had to leave? Did you walk before you crawled? Have a dog when you were small? Did you make it through, but it was such a close call? Past the light on wheels of hay, all that we've kept or have given away. Questions come for dark at the end of the day.
A Book of Questions. That's Carrie Newcomer from her new record, A Great Wild Mercy. And now Carrie's going to introduce another song for us.
There's a song on this album called Potluck. There's a couple co-written songs, and Potluck was co-written with a wonderful young songwriter. Her name is Siri Undleen from the band Humbird. We got to talking about potlucks, and I'm from the Midwest. She's from Minnesota. So we were laughing about Midwestern potlucks. Because I'm in a college town, someone will bring kale. It will happen. But because it's the Midwest, someone will bring deviled eggs. It's a thing, and then they'll be the first thing to go.
Of course.
So we're laughing about this, but then kind of fell in love with the metaphor of a potluck. That with a potluck, you just kind of trust what people bring to the table. That they bring themselves, they bring their joys, they bring their sorrows, they bring whoever they are, and maybe deviled eggs, who knows, And you also kind of trust, it's like, maybe everybody will bring chocolate cake and that'll be fine. We'll all have chocolate cake and it'll all be fine, But kind of love that idea of the warmth of the gathering. And I don't think Midwestern potlucks are much different than New England potlucks or California potlucks. There may be more kale in California potluck. But I think that idea of sharing a meal, of meeting people right where they are. So that was a very fun, and it's a very fun song in terms of how we recorded it too.
Well, I love that song, and it reminds me of a line from one of my favorite books, The Fifth Sacred Thing, in which enemies are coming, and the strategy that is agreed upon is to simply tell them there is a place for you at my table.
I have to think about that. That's really wonderful.
Yeah. And that we have to find that within ourselves to make that place at our table for whoever might show up.
And that people do show up with their whole story, you know.
Yeah.
I think a certain acknowledgement of that too, that we're all kind of complex human beings, and we carry our joys, and we carry our sorrows, and we carry our strengths, and we carry whatever we're just really bewildered about right now. And, you know, that idea of meeting people as much as we can where they are with their story and our own stories, where they might intersect. Plates are stacked, the house is clean, at least as close as I've ever seen. Soup on the stove, the record sings. Sometimes you gotta trust whatever people bring. Just put it on the table next to the wine and beer. Don't mind the mess, glad you were here. Come in from the cold dark, pull up a chair. Whatever you brought on in, it's welcome here. He's made those devil eggs on the edge of a heartbreak. Johnny picked up a bag of chips because he had nothing at home to take. Aubrey brought all the kids with cookies as a bride. Paul hesitates at the door before he finally walks inside. Just put it on the table next to the wine and beer. Don't mind the mess, glad you were here. Come in from the cold dark, pull up a chair. Whatever you brought on in, it's welcome here. Troubles we've carried round, all of the losses we cannot seem to put down. It's a quiet mercy, we're saying grace, holding the soft light juggling plates. Kids are tired, the dog is asleep, leftovers in hand, and a hug when you leave. Gravel steps and a slipper moon, a Big Dipper shines like a big old silver spoon. Just put it on the
This is Paradigms at paradigms.life.
Not in the bread, it was not in the wine, not in scroll, or in any one line, not in the past, or whatever comes next. There it was in the places I did not expect. Start with a stone, the humblest of things, from this relic of bedrock eternity springs. Go back to the source, go back to your home. Heaven is waiting, but start with stone. I know it'll peel it like the laying of hands, and suddenly somehow my whole world expands, my vision clear, the circle complete. All that I needed was right here at my feet. Start with a stone, the humblest of things, from this relic of bedrock eternity springs. Go back to the source, go back to your home. Heaven is waiting, let's start with stone. This is a place where it all will begin. Just take a breath, just take your time. First you are human and then you're divine. It's all a mystery how this came to be, from the tiniest sparkle, the way here to me, and through it all, as I've always suspected, the past and the future are right here connected. Start with a stone, the humblest of things, from this relic of bedrock eternity springs. Go back to the source, go back to your home. Heaven is waiting, heaven is waiting, heaven is waiting, but start with stone.
Start with a Stone, and before that, Potluck, new songs from Carrie Newcomer, from her new album, A Great Wild Mercy. Now let's get back to my conversation with Carrie, and she's going to introduce another song.
There's a lot on this album. There's a song called Another Day that is really a lullaby for those of us who don't sleep so well. You know, I'm one of those people that process a lot when I lay down and go to sleep. I don't know if you do that. I'm one of those people. It'll start going through my mind, you know, oh, there was that interesting conversation, and then there was those beautiful trees and that dog. What about that dog? You know, it's like but my husband, Robert, he does this really amazing thing. He like puts his head on the pillow and he goes to sleep.
How do people do that?
It's a miracle. And I'm happy for him. I'm really happy for him. Though I have thought at times I might just have to poke him in the side, but I don't do it. And, you know, Another Day is just, it's kind of a lullaby for those of us that don't always sleep so easily.
Let's listen to the song now, Another Day by Carrie Newcomer.
Last night I awoke, I just couldn't sleep. I read too much news, there was a dog on my feet. Too much to remember, I'm not finished yet. A list of new worries and older regrets. Let it go, said my heart. It's too late and too dark. It's just a chance to pray. Let it go for now, darling. Tomorrow is another day. I've been looking for beauty in these broken times, but making some beauty in the world that I find. Some say it's too late, there's too much to break, but I believe there's so much worth being saved. Let it go, said my heart. It's too late and too dark. It's just a chance to pray. Let it go for now, darling. Tomorrow is another day. Up on the roof is an old weather vane in the shape of a fish, swinging toward change. Let it go for now, let it go. There's reasons to wonder and witness to why. Troubled times coming, no way to deny. So I'll lean into you as you quietly breathe and sense all that's right. Still here and unseen. Let it go, said my heart. It's too late and too dark. It's just a chance to pray. Let it go for now, darling. Tomorrow is another day. Let it go for now, darling. Tomorrow is another day.
From her new album, A Great Wild Mercy, Carrie Newcomer with Another Day. Here's the next part of our conversation, talking about another song. There's another one on there that I really loved, which is Singing in the Dark.
Ah, thank you. That's another one of the co-written songs. Was co-written with John McCutcheon, wonderful folk singer and kind of a songwriter's songwriter. And we had decided to start meeting every week, and we did a collection of songs together. And this was one of them. And I had recently visited the monastery of Gethsemane. I had been invited to be part of a poetry reading that would happen at Thomas Merton's Hermitage. That's where Thomas Merton wrote and published many of his works. One of the things that happens at this monastery, they're contemplative Trappist monks. And so 7 times a day, they stop whatever they're doing and they go sing. So I started going to some of these singing and join in. And there's one that happens at 3 a.m. And I asked one of the monks about it. Tell me about this. And he said, 3 a.m. is probably one of the most vulnerable times for people. He had a friend who ran a crisis line. He said about 2 a.m. is when the phones start to ring or babies are born. It's just a vulnerable time of the night. And he said, I like being part of a community that there's always someone singing at that most vulnerable part of the night, someone singing for you. I just thought that was such a lovely moment, just and the idea that there's always someone singing for you, for me, that we sing for one another, sometimes in the most vulnerable of times.
This is Singing in the Dark by Carrie Newcomer from her new record, A Great Wild Mercy.
We gather in morning, the darkest hour of night, the darkest days of winter, feeling for the light, sitting in the silence as all the world's asleep. The monks of Gethsemane, the watch they daily keep. I'm a wayfaring stranger, hungry for some grace, a soul forever searching, a pilgrim to this place. I'm here to meet whatever is listening for me here, while all the world is waiting at the turning of the year. Singing in the dark, calling up the day, joining with the voices, opening the way. Sitting here in vigil, waiting for the spark that burst into being, singing in the dark. It's there at every hour, it happens everywhere, in the tenderest of times, in faithful common prayer. The seen and the unseen, for the many by the few, there is always someone singing in the dark for you. Singing in the dark, calling up the day, joining with the voices, opening the way. Sitting here in vigil, waiting for the spark that burst into being, singing in the dark. The prayer is never over, and the work is never done, never done. We all raise up our voices, and our voices become one. Voices become one. Voices become one. When we think that we are lost and out there on our own, and the dawn is in the distance, still we're not alone. Heaven is right here if we open up our hearts and join the choir that is singing in the dark. Singing in the dark, calling up the day, joining with the voices, opening the way. Sitting here in vigil, waiting for the spark that burst into being, singing in the dark. Clock in an ancient tower, I'm a lone table lamp and the appointed hour. I'm what's never been named and is nameless still. I'm the echo that comes back from the bottom of the well, Let me rest in the arms of these tangled roots. I've been wearing my longing like a backpack and boots. Let me notice the wheels, how they rattle and turn, how my life's filled with kindness that I didn't earn. Time to pick it all up and lay it back down. Time to know what I seek has already been found. Time to listen to what never made a sound. Time to take more time and cover less ground. Surprised how these days so quickly pass, not half empty or full, just a big old glass. Some answers don't come, but it's enough to ask. Deep calls to deep, and vast calls to vast. Time to pick it all up and lay it back down. Time to know what I seek has already been found. Time to listen to what never made a sound. Time to take more time and cover less ground. When the light lets loose and the stars take a bow, I'm grateful we're all safe and here for now. And that love keeps us tethered somewhere, somehow. Now in the season of come on home, slowing my life to the speed of my soul. Now when the reason's been never so clear, at the end of a hard but holy year. Time to pick it all up and lay it back down. Time to know what I seek has already been found. Time to listen to what never made a sound. Time to take more time and cover less ground. Time to take more time and cover less ground.
Singing in the Dark and Take More Time, Cover Less Ground from the new album A Great Wild Mercy by Carrie Newcomer. And now here's the final part of my conversation with Carrie Newcomer. I know that you do a lot of stuff besides making music, that you write poetry, that you write essays, that you are out in the world interacting with people around the ideas and the feeling that we're talking about. And I just wanted to highlight, you have a Substack. People can go and read your stuff. You have books of poetry. You're one of our bards bringing us this really, really good stuff.
Yeah, Substack's kind of been a new thing for me. It's not quite 2 years, and I really have appreciated the platform. It doesn't have any, it's not tracking you. It's not selling your data. It's really just creating a community that's between the artist, the musician, or the writer, the journalist, and the community. It's been a great place to work with a lot of the different art forms that I participate in. At heart, I'm a songwriter. I always come back to songwriting. There's something about that funky little format that always calls me back. But many of my songs will start with essays or short stories or poetry or conversations. And so it's been this really lovely place to not just talk about me and what I'm doing, but about the topics I write about. And that's been very, very life-giving, and exciting and creative. I'm still doing a podcast with Parker Palmer. I feel really so fortunate that I get to do this thing I love, but I get to do it in all these different formats that I love. If you can't tell, I'm kind of creatively restless. So I always have a lot of different kinds of projects going on. And that keeps me really alive creatively and personally.
Carrie, it's really a pleasure to talk with you again. And the new record is absolutely beautiful and really something to feed people for these times. And talking with you again, I remember the other time we talked being so impressed by your bright energy and your conscientiousness and care that you bring to what you're offering. And it so comes through, and really appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to be on the program. It's such a wonderful program, and it's an honor to share in the conversation here. And I am quoting you on several of the things that you said today.
I'm honored by that.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. You have a good day.
Carrie Newcomer, it was such a pleasure to talk with you again. I really love the depth and the heart in your music. I love what you're putting out there. Thank you so much for the beautiful music and the wonderful poetry and thoughtful writing. Folks, if you'd like to know more about Carrie, check out her website, carrienewcomer.com, spelled just the way it sounds. And if you'd like to read some of her essays, go to substack.com/@carrienewcomer. I hope you'll check out her website and the Paradigms website, paradigms.life. As we enter this next year with so many challenges in front of us, wars that need to be ended, political corruption that needs to be stopped, so many causes for justice that need to be supported, talked about, this record, A Great Wild Mercy, really seems appropriate. Can we find ways to be kinder to each other? There are some political ideologies out there that are not about kindness. They're about authoritarianism and even really very directly about cruelty. Let's name that stuff for what it is. Everyone has a right to be who they are without being shamed, without government interference in their personal medical choices, without having religious extremists tell them what books they can and cannot read. The list goes on. Obviously, you know where I stand on these issues. I hope that you will be clear with yourself about what matters to you as we go into this next year and stand up for justice and decency and kindness. All right, I am going to leave you with one last song from Carrie Newcomer's new record, A Great Wild Mercy. It's called The Shape of a Perfect Arc. And we'll be back next time with more inspiring people. Baruch signing off for this episode of Paradigms. Oh yes, let the word for the week be mercy. Let's practice mercy and be well.
I want to rise and set like the sun and moon. Not too late, not too soon. Like a shooting star in the dark. Whole life lived with an open heart. Like a ball that's hit out of the park in the shape of a perfect arc. I want to be like a start from an ancient tree growing up and down gratefully like a wave lifting up out of the sea in the shape of a perfect arc, in the shape of a perfect arc. I believe in things unseen, what's here and there and in between. I believe in what's yet unsaid, like a coat that hangs on a wooden peg, like a bow that waits in a thunderhead in the shape of a perfect arc. I want to be ancient tree growing up, and down gratefully like a wave, lifting up out of the sea in the shape of a perfect arc, in the shape of a perfect arc. I want to open my arms and breathe, forgive the street that skinned my knees, like a dolphin leaping out of the sea. Like the moon and sun, with no hard feelings for anyone, like incense smoke drifting up, a dam that breaks with a little luck, like a light that's poured from cup to cup in the shape of a perfect arc. I wanna be like a start from an ancient tree growing up, and down gratefully like a wave, lifting up out of the sea in the shape of a perfect arc, in the shape of a perfect arc, in the shape of a perfect arc, in the shape of a perfect arc.
You've been listening to Paradigms at paradigms.life.